Hey, good morning. It is our second conversation of February. It's February 4th, 2019. It is a Monday, back from the weekend. So I hope you all had an amazing weekend. I know I did. Mason is driving, so that's leads me to part of the conversation we're going to have today called an experience. But what's interesting is that over the course of the weekend, some of y'all, most of y'all, I believe, saw that I'm looking at some new logos for Mental Profits and Sean Murphy, kind of combining that. And I was having a conversation with the Oracle, with Kathy, and she came up with some interesting conversations for me, for us to engage in. And so I wanted to share that with you this morning. So that is this topic that we have. Where do I go? Share. Can you all see that? Okay, called experience. What is missing in yours? Do you know how to get the most out of your moments? Might surprise you to know how much you're missing. Now, that's not a bad thing, right? So when we look for an experience in life, how many of you have heard the term peak experience? So how many of the moments that you go through, right, 24 hours in a day, however many minutes that turns out to be, and seconds and hours in a week and all of this stuff, and some speaker's gotten up somewhere and they'll get up somewhere today and tell us how many minutes we have in a day and how many seconds we have let slip by, and we go, ugh, I'm such a loser. Well, I don't know if you say that. I sometimes say that. That being said, in this experience right now, on this misfit call this morning, what could you do to get a little bit more out of it? What could you do to swim a little more into it? What could you do to step from the observer into the experiencer itself? That's the question. So we're going to have a little dialogue about that. So what is an experience? The definition of an experience is a practical contact with an observer and observation of facts or events. Easy for me to say. See, an experience is when a tree falls outside. So think about this for a second. A tree falls outside and you happen to see it fall. That was an experience you had, right? You're going to tell somebody, oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. I was looking outside and the winds were blowing and this tree fell over right in front of the house. It didn't hit us, but oh my God, scared the hell out of me. We could all tell that story, right? And that would be a pretty cool experience because you were the only one to see it. None of your neighbors saw it. But let's take that same tree falling. You all ready? Now you're in the tree. Who's got a better story? Right? It's one thing to witness an experience. It's another thing to actually be the experience. The knowledge or skill acquired by experience over a period of time, especially that gained in a particular profession by someone at work. How many of us have ever been told you don't have enough experience in this position? See, here's the challenge. We go into network marketing. We go into this field of where, as Margie said, I caught the tail end of it. All you got to do is talk to people. And we think, I need to get more experience of talking to people. My question to most people at that moment is, have you lived under a rock? If you've never gone through a drive-through, if you've never ordered anything, if you never had a dialogue. So it's not about going to talk to more people, it's about experiencing more people. That's the key. When we grasp the fact that if we could sit with somebody and truly experience them, what if you had to sit with somebody for 5 minutes and never say a word to determine whether you're going to like them or not? Might that be a different experience? I'm telling you, this was when Kathy said this to me over the weekend, is that some of us don't know, may not be aware of how to experience the experience we're in. I thought that was so cool. What is your benchmark from where you're starting at to your next level of experience? What'll be your measuring stick? Usually that's a journal, right? We can go back and we can look at our journals. We can go back, we measure so many things in our life. Right? Mason, we've got marks on a wall all over the house, different places. We measured how tall he was. The doctors measured the size of his head when he was a baby, right? To see what percentile he's in. Measure his weight, measure his foot size, which is at a 14 now. Thank you very much. How much time do you spend in it should have been an experience. Is this not an experience? What would take this to the next level? I'll put it on me. So we're in this experience and all of a sudden an alien pops into my room and my head explodes. That would change this experience, wouldn't it? But how many of us are having mind-blowing conversations in our own head right now of our own greatness? Here's a question I have for you. How would you all like an experience this morning? Would you all like to nod your head? This is yes if you'd like to have an experience. What if, listen to this. Here's the experience. What if you were your own hero? What if you woke up this morning and you said, I'm going to build, I'm going to create, I'm going to design, I'm going to have the greatest hero in the world show up in my life. And after you did all of that, they popped up and they materialized across the table from you. Guess who it was? It was you. What if you were your own greatest hero? Now, here's the next experience in that. What would have to change for you to believe you are your greatest hero? Oh my God, the self-doubt running through, and the squirrels and the gerbils and the chipmunks all running around trying to get out of the light going, we are never going to be our own hero. We have to find it out there. Yet the total experience is always in here. When do you recognize a moment as an experience? What changes from the tree falling to it being an experience, being different, the unknown becoming known? What if, and I believe it is, we are each our own greatest hero, which also means the law of polarity in Wallace D. Wattles' book, Science of Getting Rich, the law of polarity is one of the 7 universal laws. We're also our best nemesis. Step into an experience versus watching it. That's what we talked about, watching the tree fall or being a person in the tree. Could you imagine that story? You're the one and everybody's gathered around you and you're telling the story about how the tree fell and this guy comes in or this gal comes in and they go, he's absolutely right. She's absolutely right. I know that for a fact. And they're like, yeah, but he's the only one that saw it. You're absolutely right. He's the only one that saw it. I was the only one in the damn tree. What would change? And then how many times do we let, I love Charlie's conversation. How many times do we let the drunk monkey run the experience? Oh, this is nothing. How many times have people come up to you and said, oh my God, that was incredible. That cake is amazing. That speech you gave was amazing. Your children are incredible. Your family relationship is unbelievable. And you go, it's nothing. I would encourage you to start saying, I receive that. The word performance, the word actually experience, I forgot to change the performance. See, anybody can do this. Experience, well, let me just do that because this needs to be the right thing. E-X-P-E-R-A-N-C-E. See, we can do this, adapt on the fly. Hey, experience, that's what editing's for. Exposure, inwardness. See, a lot of times we think experience is outside. I got to go climb the mountain, do the dirt bike, jump the hill, skate down the this, or ski down the Black Diamonds. It's an inward feeling. These are synonyms. Involvement, wisdom, observation, worldliness. I like that one. Judgment, evidence, actuality, antonyms, neglect, thoughtlessness. How many times have we neglected our own self-worth, our own desire, our own ability? We were thoughtlessness. And look how it's grown. This is one of the few words that experience, maybe, why do you think this word has grown in use over the years? Maybe because there's more things to do, right? There's more comparison. That just popped into my head. See, if Kathy writes a book, I got to write 2 books. And then Kathy goes, I got to write 3 books. We're always one-upping to try to have these higher experiences. We used to think maybe getting in a car that had no brakes, you know, the Model T, that's flat, it could have a flat tire at any time. That was an experience. That was like life-threatening. Now we got to go swim with sharks, and we got to go punch them in the nose, and we got to do, it's just, what are the requirements? This was a definition I saw this morning. Mental experience involves the aspect of intellect and consciousness experienced as combinations of thought. Isn't that interesting? We take our consciousness and our intellect, what we believe and what we're experiencing, and we put that together as a thought. Is this a good conversation this morning? Right? You're experiencing it, you're taking notes, you're doing all of this stuff, but yet you're still having conversations in your brain. Combinations of thought, perception, memory, emotion, will, and imagination. Man, that sounds like a hodgepodge. That sounds like something could get confusing there, including all unconsciousness. Cognitive process. Talk about an experience. The term can refer by implication a thought process. Whew, I'm exhausted from just trying to figure that out. What are 10 experiences, or what are 10 ways you can maximize an experience? Does that make sense? So you're driving. Okay, let's maximize the experience right now. Everybody feel your butt in the seat that you're sitting in. Think about it. Feel the way the pen feels in your hand. Feel the way the hat feels on your head. Just feel it. Can you feel where it's just touching here where the pressure is? Where does that pressure relieve? Does it, you know what I'm saying? So it takes a conscious effort to change a moment into an experience. What about the experience of you showing up this morning? The fact that you're here. The fact that you're here, yes, you've committed, and maybe there's a part of your brain that goes, well, if I don't show up, everybody's going to be wondering about me, or I'm going to see blah, 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 blah. No, you're here. You just, and if you did stay in bed, that's an experience too. But I would encourage you, you are your greatest hero or heroine. What would be the fear of experiencing more? Oh. This one will make people go dig a hole and crawl into it. I don't want to experience more. Are you kidding? My life sucks right now. Jim Rohn would say it's never as good as it could be, and it's never as bad as it could be. Could it get worse? If you experienced it and you start, the fear of experiencing more, the fear of being a little more vulnerable, the fear of allowing yourself to have a little bit more tactile in the conversation, a little bit more skin in the game. And then when you realize that you can do more for your own life, for your own self, we go back through that sadness phase. What kind of experiences can you experience? Can you experience stress? Where do you feel that? More and more, day in, day out, I'm realizing that we set goals in our head, but they can only be fulfilled in our body. It's our body, the physiology of a goal-setting process. This is where sadness isn't in the brain. It's a chemical cocktail that comes from the body that the brain goes, okay, we're going into this state, and the body's requesting these drugs. Let's go do that. Same thing with happiness. But what would be the excitement of experiencing it a little bit more? I'll play with Beamish, and I just he'll love, and he'll come and he'll put his head right here, and he actually, it's like he's just trying to get as close as he can. And I'll do my best to to feel his heartbeat through my veins. It takes a little focus, but it changes the experience. What would happen right now if I told everybody listening to this you had to write with your opposite hand? That would change the experience, wouldn't it? How often can we change, can we enhance the experience so that we can actually experience the moment? And then what if that became the new normal? You taking experiences to the next level, to the next level. Right? Anybody play a musical instrument? I can tell you, you can tell when that instrument is out of tune, where in the beginning you couldn't. Right? If you're a speaker, you can tell when you get on stage, you can go, there's a hum in the PA. Right? The lights are just ridiculous, or the lights are connected and there's just this hum. Anything that you do on a regular basis, you become better at it. Oh, by the way, that's negative just as well as positive. How many of us have become the greatest negative Nelly? Don't raise your hand. I'm talking about people who are watching the replay. What's your discipline? Daily reminders to just experience. Here's the scary thing. 4 million bits of information, 2 million bits of information, 2 million bits of information per eye come into our body per second. Through our senses, the number I've heard as high as 40 million bits of information through our senses. That's a lot, isn't it? You want to know how many we can become consciously aware of? 40. So it doesn't matter whether it's 2 million or 40 million. We're only conscious of 40 per second. 40 bits of information per second. That's still a boatload of stuff we've got to consciously be aware of. Why do we not recognize the other 2 million, 4 million bits of information coming in our eye? Because the brain's looking for the two things. Will it kill me? And how fast can I recognize the experience? The nexting that the brain does. So what if you were to just sit in your room and experience your room as one of the greatest places on the planet? What if the next time you walk by any book that you've read and you went, wow, I got some good stuff out of that. See, if we start to condition our body to look for the good that's in all of our experiences, guess what we're going to find more of? And this isn't the ostrich mode of personal development, stick your head in the sand and don't look at the negative. But if any negative exists, the law of polarity says there has to be an equal and opposite what? Greatness. So what if this peak performance, right? When people say, I want a peak performance, I want to go skydiving. That, I don't know if anybody's skydove, but I have. It's one of the greatest feelings, emotional things, because it was so great. There was also a serious opposite that could have just been the last peak experience, right? So become aware of your increased experience. Journaling. What did you used to experience? How did you change your levels of experience? And it's the principle of Kaizen, 1/10 of 1% improvement every day. I had a couple of notes here. I'd leave you with this as we go into our dialogue and conversation. How would your life change if you were your hero? If you fulfilled all of the requirements of a heroine, of a hero, and you are already it. Not that you're becoming it, not that you need to change something to do it, you're already it. How would you have to look at yourself differently? I know I had a couple of words to myself when I thought about that this morning. So there you go. Experience. what pops into your head when you hear the word
I want to
experience?
jump in really quick because I have to leave really early today. But when it comes to experience, and on Friday was our launch day for a 90-day blitz, and I had a plan of how it was going to go. And I normally don't work in property management on Friday, and I got drawn in on Friday into a situation of emergency at the condo that I didn't want to get drawn into, and the people that I had to communicate with were not cooperating. And I'm telling you, the frustration, the physical experience was right back. The old way of reacting to this kind of crap was right there. And it's so funny because on Saturday, when I was on Facebook, I saw your posting with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he talked about the addiction. And as soon as I recognized that, I thought, yeah, now I can take control of this. Now, let me tell you, the rest of the weekend was more emergencies that I don't want to deal with, but I had to. But I was so much calmer during the other experience, like when I woke up at 1:30 in the morning and was involved with it till like 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And I just got through it in a much better state of mind because I remembered about the mind-body experience and I didn't let my body take control of my mind. That was my experience.
How cool is that? And sometimes as we break addictions, we're always tested. So if the law of attraction works, I believe it does. And if the law of attraction doesn't always just work for good stuff, it works for anything that we've drawn to our life. So that was a test to say, are you officially on the path to controlling your body? Who knows? Hindsight's 20/20. My dad said we can always fix everything we've ever done wrong, but we didn't know it then. So that's a cool experience. Thank you for sharing that. Who else? Experience.
I think you raise a good point there, Sean, is that there is a bias to our experience and there's a conditioning to it. And you're going to experience something today that the way you experience it today is a direct result of how you perceived you experienced that same thing yesterday. And it's just like Emily is talking about, we have to break that pattern. We have to be willing to break that pattern. If you want to experience it differently, you have to be willing to give up your previous experience. You know, I mean, we've all heard this, right? If you've been hurt, if you've been in a relationship and you've been hurt, you can't have another relationship if you're going to base everything on your next relationship on that relationship. You have to learn from it, you have to grow from it, and then you have to go from it, right? You have to let yourself, it's not even just about letting the relationship go, it's about letting yourself go from the relationship, that release. And I think that that's important. But the other thing that I think is critical is to realize that we experience life from our own DNA. I'm reading an incredibly interesting book right now by Howard Gardner. Was recommended by Darren Hardy. Anyway, Howard Gardner, his book is called Frames of Mind. And I will just tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a big book. But he talks about the 7 different forms of intelligence, and your brand of intelligence impacts how you experience things. It also releases you of any judgment of you not having to experience it the same way everybody else does. Right? What's that old saying from Einstein? Everyone is intelligent, but if you judge a goldfish on its ability to climb a tree, it's going to spend its whole life thinking it's stupid. It's that context, right? So if you look at an experience and say, well, I didn't have the same experience Sean did, or Kathy did, or Elaine did, or anybody else did, well, you weren't supposed to. You're supposed to have your experience. And I found that to be, I'm finding the book extremely powerful. I think, I like anything that's around cerebral and and thinking, because I truly believe if we could just learn how to think, we would be fine. I think the mentor's job is not to help you know what to do, but to help you know how to think. And so for me, this whole idea of experience is about your approach. But yeah, I mean, and like you were talking about, Sean, being in the experience, you're the one in the tree, right? What if you're not the only one in the tree? Do you think each one of you had your own experience? Yeah, you did. Because one of you might have been in the tree before.
And you saw it was getting ready to, this is fun, I'm in.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, good stuff.
Cool, Kathy, thank you. And again, so if we look at the universe, right now there's 14 of us on this call. We're all going through 6:57, whatever time it is in your time zone, but we're all of these different layers, right? And whether you're in the middle of the tree or at the top of the tree, our experiences are all different, even as communal as they may be. Look, I used a communal, a polysyllabic word. I love when these words show up in my brain. So what are some of the things in your experience that has served you in your way to envision an experience? Here's the biggest challenge. How many times do we foreshadow an experience that hasn't even happened yet? Oh, they're not going to want to talk to me. I'll go back to what Margie said. Just go talk to a lot of people. What if the experience was they were waiting to talk with you? What if Kathy signed books before? I've signed books before. What if there was a line of people that wanted your information and they wanted your autograph in their life? It's the coolest thing. I mean, I'll just speak from personal experience. It's the coolest thing when people go, "Can you sign this?" When people would come up to me as a vice president of sales and they would ask me to sign their shirts, to sign the event little notebook that we handed out. It's the coolest thing when people say, "I want to remember you." Well, what are you going to autograph in your own life today? If you were the person coming up to you to receive your autograph, how would that make you feel to ask yourself for your autograph? How would that make you feel to be the one who's giving yourself an autograph? Doesn't it change the experience? I mean, you could sit and be like going like this eventually somewhere in the corner going, and you're just like lost in this spiral of how wonderfully odd am I and how wonderfully great am I in this whole, but I think that would be a cool experience.
Sean, let me jump in really quickly before I have to go. And you were talking about autographs. Do you remember making my mother sign her peanut brittle? My mother makes peanut brittle, excellent peanut brittle, and she sells it on the side and that kind of thing. But anyway, we brought Sean's son the first time we met him, and he asked her to sign the package, what was unique to her. I think that influenced my mother more than you will ever probably know, because she's the type of person that no one's ever asked for her autograph before, or her uniqueness, what made her unique. And she has talked about that so many different times.
Aww.
So, I was like, okay, well, we need to come up with you a thing, whether it be your signature or whatever. But just small things like that, when you ask her to do that, it made her experience that we were having meeting with you, and put a whole different light, not only on her little business that she has, a peanut brittle, but it flipped it also till she could see my business in a different light as well.
Wow.
So thank you for that. That was small but huge. You'll never know.
And so just to give you an idea, I was eating this peanut brittle that her mom had made, and I'm looking at it, and it's a sticker, and it says how much, and I said, I need you to sign this. Right? I'm all about the experience, and I want to engage and remember it. And now that you say it, the look on her face was like, you want me to do what? So how many times when we engage people in a conversation, can we up the level up, right? Everybody's talking about leveling up. Can we level up the experience by simply creating a momentous moment in that experience? And for me, that was just having her sign that, which I just love it. Because it wasn't there, and I got to have the most unique package of peanut brittle in existence from her. All of the people who have loved it have never received one. So I always look very selfishly, self-fully, how to enhance the experience. What can you do today to enhance your experiences? What if you were meeting with a prospect today and you said, listen, here's my notes today. All I want to do is I want to remember this. Could you sign these for me? It'll freak them out, probably, because most people have never been asked to give their signature as a movie star, as somebody special enough that I would want your autograph. Cool. Thank you, Danya, for sharing that. Who else? Experience. What has this concept, what has this idea of experience done for you to change the way you look at things, right? Dr. Wayne Dyer, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. You can jump in there, Rob?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I'm driving as I normally am.
Keep your eyes on the road.
I'm not video. I am. So really quick though, one of the things that I've often thought of, and I've challenged people and my staffs over the years, I got challenged when I was in college to go to the movies by myself. And I was like, like, why? And then, I'm like, well, it makes sense. Like, you don't really, even if you're on a first date, you don't go to a movie because it's like, why would you do that? Because you're not even really talking. You're watching a movie. But, so I've challenged people to go to the movies by themselves, and just the unique experience. And I'll never forget it. And now I've done it, God, I don't know how many times. But, that was kind of a big thing, and for a lot of people, they said that was really impactful for them. I said, you got to go get the ticket. You got to go get, the popcorn by yourself. You got to, but do it for you. Do it for yourself so you can actually, make sure that you're comfortable in your own skin and not worried about what somebody's seeing. And obviously this was before, social media and, like, oh my God, they're by themselves. Oh my God, why would you do that? But anyway, just wanted to share.
Well, Bob, that's a huge point, because it comes up to the addiction to approval. I travel a lot, and eating dinner by yourself, people are always looking, right? And most people will not. They'll go through a drive-through and go back to their hotel room because they don't have the self-worth, confidence, whatever it is, the ability to withstand inspection, to sit there by themselves and have dinner. Imagine this. Imagine if you could only go to the movies with at least two. The only way you can go get a ticket is at least two. That's the common way to go. What if you went with three people? Right? If we can change the way we look at anything, but I think that's an important thing, because you've got to sit there in your silence. How cool is that, to be able to experience it and listen to your thoughts tell you all of the crazy things you're doing by going to get popcorn by yourself? What a loser. Or what a joyful person. I like the dollar movies myself.
So thanks, Rob, for bringing that back into my orb, because I actually remember doing that when I was, I think early 20s, 2021. And it was a big deal, because at that point in time in my life, I was so dependent on others to track my path. I couldn't imagine doing anything on my own. So I can totally bring that experience back into my thought process again. And it was huge and so empowering. I didn't die, you guys. It was amazing. It was amazing. Same thing with doing the dinner by myself as well. It's so empowering. If you haven't done it, I would encourage you to give it a go because it's truly, truly empowers you. So thanks for that, Rob. I appreciate it.
I
You know,
never,
what's interesting is listening to all of this is what's rolling around for me is just do it different. What if you to change your experience of something, you need to do it differently. When I work with, because I work with people that struggle with change. My work is about how to embrace even disruptive change. How do you get past this fear of change? And believe it or not, if the best way to get over your fear of change is to become a change maker. Because if you realize that you can author change, it becomes less intimidating. But when I talk to people about this, we never talk about making big changes. That's too much. We talk about what are the small changes you can start making today. What are the small changes you can start making today? What's if you drive to work every day, what's a new route you could take? Have 3 or 4 different routes and don't take the same route, right? If you go to the movies right now with the same person every time, go alone, but also go with somebody different. If you only ever go with the 2 of you, add a third. If you only ever do a certain thing a certain way, challenge yourself to choose one thing you'll do differently today. And that will change your experience of that thing. It's amazing to me how just moving things, environment is a huge thing for me. If I'm get to where I know I need to write an article and I just can't seem to get the mojo, nothing's flowing. I go somewhere different. I go to the park. I go to the library. I go somewhere different so that what's around me changes. The air is different. It sparks something different in me. And even if I don't write there, I go there and I come back with a fresh perspective of where I had been. And it's amazing what that does to my writing process. So I just would encourage all of you not to think in terms of alone or with, but different.
And Kathy, how many of you guys remember me saying about when you dry yourself off differently by getting out of the shower? I mean, it starts with the simplest thing. I woke up one morning not too long ago, and because Michelle had hurt her hip, she couldn't sleep on that side, so she had to sleep on her other side, which meant the other side of the bed, but I was already in there. So she went from putting her head up here to putting her head down here. And I woke up in the morning and I went, because I was looking at her feet. Right? That changed the way I woke up that day, and it changed the whole day. So all of those little things, from sleeping on the other side of the bed to, right, sit in your chair and spin. How many of you want to sit in your chair and spin? It's just little things like that. If we don't control this thing's always going to be challenged.
I never go alone. I always take my sub-personalities with me. My 5-year-old, my female self, my teenager. There's always somebody to interact with, even if I'm physically all alone.
But being aware of that, Charlie, that's the thing that's key, is that, you know, I heard it said once that if a 21-year-old and a 91-year-old are standing together on the boardwalk, and this beautiful woman walks by in her T-back bathing suit, and she's an 11 on a 10, they're both going to look at her. And the 21-year-old will look at her, and so will the 91-year-old, but it will be the 21-year-old and the 91-year-old that will look at it. 91-year-olds don't look at hot babes walking by in T-backs, but 21-year-olds do. So that's exactly right. And we always adapt to a situation to be that person who would be best suited for that situation. So that's a huge point. And I'd like to meet your we've met your 5-year-old a couple of times. What else is popping up for y'all? Experience. Again, part of the reason sometimes we I don't want to say shut down, we kind of put the wall up, it's because it's like, yeah, but Kathy can do all of that stuff, or you know, Leslie works with horses, or go ahead, Karen.
Morning, Sean.
Good morning.
Yes, talking about what your subject today. I guess I'm used to going to coffee for myself, so that's usually my quiet time that I can devote in personal development or take my book for coffee. And you know, sometimes I get people to come by and talk to me, but that's my time alone. So that's what I enjoy. But what I've been going through lately is one of the reasons is I'm doing something new. I'm doing something different. So my mind's trying to get used to it, like approaching people on social media or talking to them or involved in conversation. So this is something out of the norm for me. So I guess my mind's not used to it yet. So I just wanted to share that.
So part of it is the prelogue that you're putting in place to the experience, to then having the experience. So what if you were to tell yourself, this thing that I'm doing, I've done 1,000 times before, and every time it's turned out perfectly. Right? Some people, there's some of us who wish some people never joined our business.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right? And boy, I saw all of the signs and didn't pay attention to one of them. So I would encourage you to say, I'm good at this. People love to have a conversation with me because that changes the DNA, which changes the way your body experiences. No fewer than 105 decisions are made in the first 5 seconds of meeting somebody. 105, and it all happens in the reptilian brain.
Yeah.
Then we spend the rest of our life determining about whether that was a good decision. We verify those decisions. How many of us have ever met somebody and went, God, I knew they were an asshole from the moment I met them, and I don't know why. Right? Or, my God, they walked into the room and I wanted to meet them, and now I'm on stage with them. I was on stage with Ryan, with Ray Higdon, Joe Kennemore, Todd Falcone, Angel Fletcher, Ryan Higgins, Diane Hockman. These are all like little my icons, my idols. And 2 weekends ago, I'm on stage with them all, and that's my new profile picture because I'm pretty proud of that. But I'm standing there hugging them.
Yeah, but see, I don't know those names, Sean.
Right.
If somebody were to say to me, if I were to meet one of them and they were to say, well, I was on stage with Sean Murphy, I would say, oh, wow, you got to share the stage with Sean Murphy. Because I don't know them.
Right.
But I know you. I mean, that's a great example because it's your relationship to them that made that experience one way. Whereas for somebody else because I would be like, big yawn, I don't know who they are, right? So I would be impressed that they got to be on stage with you, not that you were on stage with them. It's all in your experience with what's going on.
Yep. Perception is reality. We talk about people, everybody on this call they talk about their Kathy experience or their Kathy conversation. And people are like, who the hell is this Kathy? I got to meet her, right? It's true. Whether it be Leslie or Margie or me or Rhonda or Charlie, right? Everybody's going, I don't know who that is, but if you think they're that cool. So the key to this whole dialogue today, or one of the linchpins or the key pins, is how can we maximize our experience? And how many of you are looking at my hat going, what is he doing? Right? It's one of those things. It's that, wait a minute. Now, okay, so if I do it like this, and if I start rapping, would that really like take away?
Sean, we stopped asking those kind of questions.
But see, that's because in this experience, there's just going to be something crazy.
Yeah.
So I say all of that to say, enjoy your experience, right? Laughter is the best medicine. What can we do to start to giggle a little bit more about what we do? Part of this might be when you start to look at your experience a different way, actually not getting sad, but laughing about, oh my God, I used to do that? I can't believe I used to do it. Oh my gosh, what was I thinking? More importantly, I would ask you in each experience, what were you feeling? Because all of this, where it goes back to this, was it this one here? This page here, let me share this real quick. When it goes back to this page, what a mental experience is, and it talks about this, the unconsciousness cognitive process, including all unconsciousness. Do you realize what that includes? How big of a shitload of stuff that includes? All unconscious experience? That's your entire life. Everything that's ever been said, everything that's ever been said to you, everything you've ever heard about you, that which you repeat on a regular basis has become permanent. That drives to the conscious mind. But all of the unconscious, I've heard it said that if you think of the largest football arena you could think of, professional football arena, and you take a golf ball and you put it on the top, that is your conscious mind. The arena is the subconscious mind. So all of your experiences are driving. That's why you can do this habitualized life, these habit influx lives of drying yourself off with a towel or folding your arms. We've done that, fold it the other way, and you all go, which way was the right way? Change everything. Not for change's sake, for the experience. Change it to allow yourself to go a little bit deeper. What would happen if you listened a little bit more to somebody? You actually took a breath in. What would happen if you looked yourself in the eye, right, in a mirror, and you just went a little deeper? You hung out a little bit longer. And then what would happen if you laughed more? Oh my God. I can promise you, if we all just start, we're gonna do it. Just start laughing. Just start laughing. How many of us are now laughing not at us and looking at the other ones laughing, go, what are they laughing at? There's nothing funny in their room. What? But see what happens? It changes the dopamine and the chemicals. All we are is dream pharmacists, and we can enhance our dreams by writing our own new prescription. Laughter is pretty damn good medicine. Anything else in this experience? I can tell you, you all make my life an amazing experience. I'm just grateful for it. Y'all good? Go experience life. Go take this moment. Go take the next couple of minutes and just experience it. Experience what it feels to take notes. Experience what it feels to write that out. Go ahead, Rhonda.
I'm sorry, I'm walking the dog. I hit the button again. Although I really do love what y'all are saying today. It ministers to me because, like Leslie, years and years ago when I was in corporate America and I was traveling and I was in my 20s, I could not eat out by myself. I could not go anywhere by myself. And when I finally made that break, and I don't know what age I was when I made it, when I finally made that break and I could do that, it was just such a huge, huge step for me. And I don't know why that keeps standing out in this conversation, but that, and then the other thing that keeps standing out is I love to laugh, Sean, and that just sitting there laughing just then, I probably look like a complete idiot walking my dog because I just started busting out laughing while y'all were laughing. It's crazy how these things work and how much these morning conversations changed my life so much. I just can't even put it into words. And I'm kind of glad my microphone did, I don't know, miraculously turn on so I could visit with y'all for just a minute. But y'all just bless me. Y'all bless me so much. I love it.
Well, we were powerful enough to get your experience, that's for sure. Well, there you go, folks. Have an amazing experience-filled day, because it will be experience-filled. The question is will you experience it? I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I'll see you Misfits all where? At the next event. Thanks, everybody. Go have a blessed day.
Bye for now.